The report card shows that in 2012 we had the highest number of new HIV diagnoses that we've seen for 20 years. So that is a poor report card, if you like, and disconcerting.
Brent, is this come down to complacency, do you think?
I don't think it's about complacency. I think it's about complexity. Our lives are increasingly becoming more complex, and trying to integrate all the different options we have in our lives to ensure that we still have, a satisfying sex life, but at the same time trying to make sure that we minimize our risks.
Well, there are new forms of testing and treatment available at the moment. What sort of difference are they making?
Well, in the last year or so, we've had an approved rapid test for HIV, and we've had across Australia 32 sites where people can get a test done and know within 10 or 20 minutes the result. And so within a year, we've seen a small increase in uptake of testing, which is great. And we've also, some positive news is that along the eastern seaboard in Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria, we have begun, or we're about to next year, begin offering people a daily tablet to help them prevent HIV infection along with other prevention measures. So until that kicks in, we won't be able to really get a sense of how testing and, say, prevention are improving for a little while longer. We hope to see an improvement.
Well, certainly antiretrovirals have been a huge change. They've literally been life-changing for millions of people. Brett, how have you seen that change people's lives?
Well, for me, certainly. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for antiretrovirals. When I was diagnosed in 1998, I immediately went on treatment. It was in the era of hit hard, hit early. And I'm really glad I did, I've had some side effects from the drugs, but nothing like I would have had to confront had I not been on the antiretrovirals.
It's all very well, obviously, that gives you a peace of mind and obviously the aspect of health. But is there still a stigma associated with HIV? Do you face discrimination and perhaps legal restrictions?
Absolutely. Just because someone's diagnosed with HIV doesn't mean it comes with a handbook on how to live with HIV. And there are many things that happen when you're diagnosed with HIV that you need to learn. Things about treatment, things about how to have a great relationship with your doctor, things about, what countries can I now legally not travel to anymore. Yeah. There are so many things you need to understand. And I really do believe that it's the role not just of clinicians, but in partnership with clinicians, that people living with HIV need to work with each other to educate and get us all up to speed about how to live safe and healthy lives.
And how does it affect relationships?
Well, it certainly affects relationships when you disclose. As John was telling you in the piece before, the reaction of people when you disclose, certainly in a sexual situation or in a relationship situation, can be pretty confronting. For me personally, the worst aspect is the deafening silence. When someone just no longer speaks to you. They seem to be okay with it, but then you never hear from them again. And that kind of shatters your soul, It goes deep inside you. It's not like someone throwing a rock at you, but it's certainly in some ways more painful.
Edwina Wright, the United Nations says HIV/AIDS could be eradicated in the Asia-Pacific within 15 years. Is that realistic, do you think?
Well, people who in the know suggest that that's possible, and I think that if you don't stop thinking along those lines of possibility, then we simply won't get there. We saw 360,000 people infected in the region last year. The Asia and the Pacific region has the second highest area of HIV in the world, 5 million people coming after sub-Saharan Africa. So it is a challenge, but we know that there are several countries in the region that have turned around the epidemic, where there's decreased incidence of new infections, and there are some countries where the infection rates are rising. I think it's possible, and I think it's something that we really need to work towards collectively and integrate community, scientists, doctors, government, and when countries become capable of funding and managing their own domestic HIV epidemic, then I think we've really got a good shot at it.
And interestingly, the UN also warns that the group perhaps most at risk are those over 50, 3.5 million or more are living with HIV worldwide. Now, they're saying this ageing is due to antiretrovirals prolonging lives, but also because many are partaking in risky behaviour.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're humans. We take risky behaviour. We do things every day that aren't related to HIV that incorporate risk. And I think it's just about being able to target people who are at risk, such as young men in Australia are very much at risk, and older people who may not perceive themselves at risk. It's about having nuanced, appropriate and targeted messaging and relationships between community and doctors and scientists that will decrease the risk of that continuing.